Welcome to our journey through Genesis chapter 26, a story of faith, God's promises, and divine intervention in the life of Isaac, the son of Abraham. Join us as we explore how God's covenant continues to unfold, even in the most challenging of circumstances. Our story begins in a time of severe famine, a harsh and testing period that swept across the land. The earth was cracked and dry, the vegetation sparse. This was not the first time such a trial had occurred. It was a grim echo of a previous famine that had tested Isaac's father Abraham. Faced with the desperate need for survival in a land that seemed to offer nothing but dust and hardship, Isaac had to make a critical decision. Where should he go? How would his family and his people survive? The natural impulse would have been to head towards Egypt, a land known for its mighty river, the Nile, which often provided a refuge from drought. It was the logical, human solution. But in this moment of crisis, God intervened. He appeared to Isaac with a clear and counterintuitive instruction. Do not go down to Egypt. Dwell in the land which I shall tell you. Imagine the weight of that command. Stay put in the very place where the famine is raging. It was a call to radical trust, to set aside human reasoning and rely completely on a divine promise. Isaac, choosing faith over fear, obeyed. He settled in Gerar, a territory belonging to the Philistines, trusting that God's word was a more reliable foundation than the fertile lands of Egypt. This decision would set the stage for a powerful demonstration of God's faithfulness. In Gerar, God didn't just tell Isaac where to stay. He reaffirmed the magnificent covenant he had made with his father Abraham. God promised Isaac, "Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you and will bless you. For to you and to your offspring I will give all these lands, and I will establish the oath that I swore to your father Abraham." This wasn't just a promise of survival. It was a promise of blessing, inheritance, and a future. God's presence was to be Isaac's ultimate assurance, a shield and a source of provision far greater than any earthly resource. Even surrounded by famine, Isaac was wrapped in the security of God's unwavering commitment. And so, in an act of profound faith, Isaac sowed seed in that dry, famine-stricken land. Common sense would say this was a futile effort, a waste of precious resources. But Isaac was operating on a different economy, the economy of faith. The results were miraculous. The Bible tells us that in that same year, he reaped 100-fold. The Lord blessed him, and he became prosperous, growing exceedingly wealthy with vast flocks, herds, and a large household. His success was so astounding that the Philistines began to envy him. This prosperity, however, brought a new set of challenges. The wells that his father Abraham had dug were stopped up and filled with earth by the envious Philistines. Water, the source of life in the desert, became a point of intense conflict. The herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, claiming the water was theirs. Rather than escalating the conflict, Isaac chose a path of peace and moved on. He dug another well, and again they quarreled over it. So he moved once more. This cycle of digging and conflict could have been discouraging, a constant source of frustration. Yet Isaac persevered, continuing to trust in God's provision. Each move was not a retreat, but a step of faith, a search for the place God had prepared for him. He was learning that God's blessing couldn't be contained or thwarted by human envy or opposition. Finally, Isaac moved on from there and dug another well, and this time there was no quarrel. He named it Rehoboth, which means room or spaciousness. He declared, "For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land." It was a powerful moment of recognition. After all the strife and contention, God had carved out a peaceful space for him to thrive. Isaac didn't see the previous conflicts as failures, but as part of the journey leading him to this place of blessing. At Rehoboth, with water flowing freely, Isaac built an altar and called upon the name of the Lord, reaffirming his dependence on the God who had faithfully guided and provided for him every step of the way. The testimony of God's favor on Isaac became so undeniable that it captured the attention of the very people who had opposed him. Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, came to Isaac not with hostility, but with a desire for peace. He told Isaac, "We see plainly that the Lord is with you." The blessing on Isaac's life was a witness to all who saw it. Recognizing the divine power at work, Abimelech sought to make a covenant, a sworn treaty of peace with Isaac. In that moment, Isaac's patient perseverance and faith were vindicated. The man who had been driven away because of envy was now sought after for peace, a clear sign of God's ability to turn conflict into concord and make one's enemies be at peace with them. The story of Isaac in Genesis 26 is a timeless lesson for all of us. It teaches us that in our own times of famine, whether they be financial, relational, or spiritual, our first response should be to listen for God's guidance, even when it seems to defy logic. It shows us that obedience to God's word, rooted in trust, unlocks blessings that we cannot engineer on our own. We hope this story strengthens your faith and encourages you to trust in God's unfailing promises, no matter the circumstances you face. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this message with others.